Hi, it's Nikki here from Happy Hormones for Life, and today I've got a very special guest, my lovely client and friend Celine Hooper, who's going to tell us a little bit about her journey working with us. Celine, welcome.
Hello, Nikki. Thank you
How
for
are you
having me on.
doing? Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. So tell us a little bit about what you were struggling with before you started to work with us.
Okay, so I basically started struggling, I think, after I hit 40. So I think I was a little bit unlucky. Everything happened quite early. And I had a couple of years of a slow decline. So I didn't maybe really realize. I knew something was wrong, but I didn't know what it was. Went to the doctor several times, and it was really energy loss of focus, brain fog, and a steady weight gain every month. Didn't matter what I did, gaining 1 to 2 pounds a month. So over an 18-month period, that obviously made quite a difference. And I was convinced it was something to do with my thyroid. Kept going back to the doctor. Had my thyroid tested twice, and he said that it was fine. And then it was through internet searching I found and ordered your book. And so that was the first thing I did. Is I read the book, digested all the information, and put a lot of that into place, I think, over a 3 to 4 month period. And definitely felt some improvement, but then following a very stressful couple of months at work, I totally crashed.
Yeah.
And at that point, what I was suffering with was extreme fatigue, going to bed at 7:30 at night, hardly getting through the day, body aches. I felt like a 90-year-old woman.
Yeah.
There were some days just everything hurt. I had nausea that was like morning sickness, nausea, just low laying all day, very emotional, lots of tears,
Yeah.
night sweats and not really sleeping. So that was, I think that was about the September time, and I did go back to the doctor, and he put me on HRT, which I remember saying I was 25% of myself at that point, and what he put me on brought me up to about 60. But it also brought other problems with it because I got anxiety then like I've never had. And so I went on again for a few months, and then I think we had our first call. And when I spoke to you for that first time, that was the first time I thought somebody really listened and was understanding as to what I was really going through.
Yeah.
And that was when we started the testing process. So that's where I was on the floor, on this HRT from the doctor that wasn't suiting me, causing problems, and still suffering a lot when we first spoke.
Yeah, brilliant. And when you did the testing, what were the outcomes of the test? What did you find out?
So the key thing I found out was that there was an issue with my thyroid. So my instinct had been right on that, and I had a high presence of antibodies. So showing really that I had Hashimoto's, which was great.
And you'd never been told that before, had you?
No, because the tests obviously had come back saying that my thyroid function was normal. But then I realised that the test done through the GP was different to the test that I had done with you. And so that was a big one. The other one was the cortisol level. My cortisol level was absolutely through the roof, and I do have a busy life. I run a business.
No surprise
I've got 3
there.
kids. Yeah, so I wasn't really that surprised about it. But when somebody tells it to you, then you realise this is something that I've really got to address. And then I think really, I read a lot of stuff around that. I got a lot of support from you and the nutritionist. But I did feel that I needed further testing, because through the reading of everything about the Hashimoto's, I understood that there was potentially an underlying cause for that, which could have been in my gut.
Yeah.
And it's when you're reading things and you think, this sounds like me. Yeah, okay, this definitely sounds like me. So I think then the second round of testing I had with you was when I discovered that I did have bacterial infection, a parasite, lovely stuff.
Yeah, nice to know. Yeah. Once you do know, you can do something about it, right? That's the whole point of doing the test, isn't it? To find out what you need to actually do about it and get somewhere.
Absolutely. And when you've lived with something for such a long time and it's eroded you over a long period, you do sort of get used to it, and you sort of think, this is my new reality. If this is life after 40, maybe this is just what I have to live with. So when my energy came back, it was just hallelujah. Life started again. So that was amazing, really amazing.
Energy changes everything, doesn't it? Because without it, you literally can't function. You can't even think about what you're going to cook for dinner or eating healthily or whatever. Once you've got your energy back, it changes everything, doesn't it?
Yeah, completely, because it affects, going through something like this, I think affected every area of my life. I wasn't a nice person to live with. I wasn't a particularly patient mum. It was just like survival. It was getting through the day. What do I have to do to get through the day? And I would even like decide, right, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to see those people. I stopped going to my choir. I stopped seeing friends, because I thought I've only got this amount of energy, so I have to do the key things. And that makes you quite a miserable person, because it takes all the fun out of life, really.
Yeah. And did you have, apart from the course of treatment, did you make any other changes that had an impact?
Yes, yeah, loads actually. So I think initially, for reading your book, I first started the smoothies in the morning, started really thinking about nutrients, maybe in a way that I hadn't quite done before, and looking at my food and thinking, right, how can I pack the most in? I would say, if you were to compare my diet now to what it was a couple of years ago, I'm just a lot more conscious of organic. I always have made everything from scratch anyway, so I've continued to do that, but I think I'm more aware of where I can get variety and just good nutrients. And when I have a period, like over Christmas, a bit of a period over Christmas, and I was starting to feel a bit tired again, I thought, well, yeah, I've had 2 weeks, I've eaten a load of stuff I shouldn't. I just immediately knew then the tools to go back to. I was like, right, I'm going to do 2 weeks of the smoothies in the morning, be really super mindful of what I'm eating, and immediately I felt better. So that's been really good, to almost feel like I've got a bit of a toolkit now for what I do to maintain myself.
So, Celine, how would you describe the difference between before and after, how you are now and how you used to be in terms of your symptoms?
Yeah, day and night, really. That's what I would say. This came out of nowhere. And absolutely knocked me sideways. And I was on the floor. I really was on the floor. And when I look back on it now, I can actually get quite emotional, because I just remember how hard it was. And also feeling like there was no help. Nobody was listening to me. You almost think to yourself as well, I should be able to pull myself out of this. I should be able to feel better. To now feel that I feel, I'm energetic. I'm symptom free. I don't feel as if I have any menopausal symptoms at the moment that I deal with. I think the HRT, the bioidentical HRT, manages that. And through diet and exercise, I manage my mood and my energy levels. So yeah, you couldn't get a more opposite end of the scale from where I was to where I am today, really.
So worth the investment.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I was so desperate. And I think it was a big investment at the time, but you can't put a price on that. I think about how much more productive I've been in that time, how much I've been able to work harder at my business. So understanding, everybody says that thing, don't they, about being on the airline and put on your own oxygen mask before everybody else's, that self-care idea. And I do think you're right about a mindset change, because I do think I had a very driven work, family, go 100 miles an hour mentality. This has made me slow down. It has changed my mindset. I know that I need to look after myself. So I've invested in myself through this program, but I've also then from that invested in myself and done other stuff, like go on a yoga retreat or do a bit of I've joined this women's group program. And these are things which are sort of nourishing me, sort of mind and body, and making me realize I need to take life at a slightly slower pace. And I think that is really important. That's worth the investment.
And it makes you a better mum, wife, friend, doesn't it? And a more productive work business owner as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you so much. It's been wonderful chatting, and I really appreciate you coming on and telling everyone about what's happened, because I hope hopefully that will inspire other people to take action.
Yes. Well, I would love that. Yes, yeah. I think if I'd heard somebody talking like this, 2 years ago, it would have given me a little bit of hope. So yeah, that's nice to think that people could listen to it and think, oh yeah, there's light at the end of the tunnel.
Oh, absolutely. You're absolutely shining example of that. So thank you so much, and
no worries.
See you soon.
Thank you very much. Bye.